Hi, I'm Ken Shea, and I'm President and CEO of East Coast Credit Union.
Hi, I'm Mary Oxner, and I'm the Chair of the Board of Directors of East Coast Credit Union.
In 2020, we were able to adapt to the adversity of the pandemic and did so with the determination and member-focused solutions. I am very pleased to say that our East Coast team rose to the challenge. East Coast Credit Union worked diligently to put additional measures in place to enhance the safety and well-being of our communities. We reduced branch hours and increased the number of staff available to assist members by phone and digitally. We deferred mortgage payments and loan payments and introduced the CEBA relief program for small businesses, among many other initiatives.
East Coast Credit Union had over $960 million in assets and approximately 42,000 active members at the close of 2020. We worked to better serve our members by prioritizing digital accessibility through such options as online appointment booking, virtual appointments, as well as mobile wallets.
As a credit union, our local community commitment remains strong and continues to expand. We invested in organizations like Feed Nova Scotia, the Victorian Order of Nurses, and the Hospice Society, to name just a few. In 2020, we contributed over $800,000 and approximately 3,000 volunteer hours in our local communities. We successfully held our 4th annual East Coast CU Cares initiative and participated in the Loyal to Local Challenge, which injected over $70,000 into local Atlantic Canadian businesses. We also continue to invest in branch transformations throughout our communities, with our most recent taking place in New Glasgow and of course here in Elmsdale.
We know the past year was challenging for many of us. We were all in it together, and together we overcame obstacles, which helped us to better position ourselves for the future. We remain dedicated to serving our members and making a positive change in our communities.
It's been an interesting year. Cheers to 2021.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Oxner, and I am the Chair of East Coast Credit Union's Board of Directors. I would like to officially call this meeting of our members to order. We'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are respectfully gathered in our individual homes, each in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This acknowledgement is particularly poignant this year, given the revelations of unmarked and undocumented graves on grounds of former residential schools across our country. I would like to welcome everyone to the 2021 East Coast Credit Union Annual General Meeting. This year, like last year, due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we have elected to hold our AGM virtually. This is the first year that we are using Zoom, so we do ask for your patience as there may be a few glitches that come up. Instructions on how to access Zoom were provided to you individually within the last 48 hours via your email. The meeting is being recorded, so anyone who is unable to join us this evening can view the meeting when the recording is posted to our website in the next few days. Tonight's meeting will reference our annual report, our audited financial statements, which are linked within the annual report, and the minutes from last year's AGM. These can be found by going to our website, which is at www.eastcoastcu.ca, and clicking on the first banner on the homepage as seen on your screen. That will bring you to our corporate meetings page, which contains the information about tonight's meeting and the voting process for the special resolution. Click on the corporate reports page link as shown here, and that will take you to our annual report and last year's AGM minutes. There are several speakers this evening, and I will introduce you to them shortly. Prior to that, there are a few aspects of this online format to be aware of. Audio and video are only available to speakers. Communication of questions, comments, or actions relating to motions will be done through the Q&A function as shown here. Simply click on the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, enter your comment or question, and click send. We have some speakers who will be providing reports tonight. If you have any questions relating to the reports, please enter them into the Q&A during their report, and they will answer once they have finished speaking. If you have any questions not relating to the reports, there will be time provided during sections of the meeting, including old business, new business, and the special meeting portions later on this evening. And so for general or additional comments, we ask that you type your question into the Q&A box at that time. During the meeting, a few standard motions are expected to be passed. For example, to approve the agenda. When a motion is requested, the chair will ask for a mover and a seconder. If you wish to move or second the motion, please type "I move" or "I second," whichever is appropriate, into the Q&A window. Then click send as shown here. Once moved and seconded, the chair, myself, will ask if there is any discussion. If there are any questions or comments during the motion, simply click on the Q&A button, enter your comment or question, and click send. Questions or comments will then be read by our moderator and addressed by the chair. At the end of the discussion, the method of voting in favor or opposed will be by poll, with regular motion requiring a straight majority approval or 50% plus one. The poll will appear on your screen and you can select the appropriate response and then select submit. For the motion on the special resolution relating to the amalgamation, we will require a mover and a seconder before moving to discussion on the resolution, but will not call for the question at the end of the discussion. Instead, voting on the special resolution has been open since June 14th at 9:30 a.m. and will close at 11:59 p.m. tonight. If you have not yet voted, please go to our website, and I'll repeat it here again, www.eastcoastcu.ca. There you can cast your online ballot. As a special resolution, a 2/3 majority is required for the motion to pass. Voting results will be declared on June 30th or tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Voting is being conducted electronically via a platform called Q's eVote, which we have used in the past few years for our board of director elections. Q's is a nonprofit international membership association for credit union executives. Q's processes and tabulates all the electronic ballots, and the results are confirmed by their election manager. Voter information is used exclusively by Q's, and independent vendors are utilized by Q's to administer the vote. Voter information is not used for any other purposes or distributed to any other parties and is destroyed 60 days following the close of the vote. When we get to the motions in the agenda, I will remind you of the processes we just reviewed. We are very pleased to have this opportunity to share with you our achievements of the past year. I would like to thank our members, staff, board members, and committees for making 2020 another successful year for the East Coast Credit Union. I would also like to take a moment to welcome our special guests this evening, including our system partners, our 2021 bursary winners who will be announced shortly, and of course, their friends and family. Thank you for attending our annual general meeting, and we certainly appreciate your support. I would like to introduce our virtual head table. And those members at that table are myself, of course, as chair. My name is Mary Oxner. Also, Ken Shea, our president and CEO, whom you'll hear from shortly. David Morehouse, who is our parliamentarian and scrutineer. And Caroline Dickey, our recording secretary for this evening. At this time, I will also conduct a roll call of the board of directors and our senior executives. For this virtual meeting, the roll call will serve a dual purpose. Firstly, to introduce you to our board of directors and our executive team. Secondly, to ensure that our meeting quorum is met. The board of directors and executive team have joined the meeting, as have our members. And your board of directors, apart from me as chair, are. And you can see their names on the screen in front of you. Helen McPherson, the vice chair and chair of the governance committee. Ann Sears, secretary and chair of the communications committee. Trevor Boudreau, chair of credit committee. Dan Fagier, chair of the audit committee. Tyrell Giffen, director. Kathy Mcdonald Rankin, director. Leroy McCachran, chair of the nominations committee. Randy Peters, director. Melanie Sampson, director. And Bill Timmons, who's the chair of the Community Impact Committee. And I can confirm that our directors are present for this evening's meeting. The senior executive team, you can see the names on the screen in front of you. Aside from our CEO and president, Ken Shea, are Leila Khalil, vice president of human resources, Monica McCarthy, the vice president of finance, Dave McDonald, our vice president of risk, and Sally Vanderweel, our vice president of operations. I would also like to note, before the business of the meeting begins, that this meeting will follow Robert's Rules of Order. An exciting part of our presentation at the annual general meeting each year is the announcement of our Bursaries for Youth. Our youth play an important role in the future success of East Coast Credit Union and our communities and our society. East Coast provides personalized financial solutions to help our youth achieve their goals, along with our annual bursary program. This year, East Coast Credit Union offered 9 $1,000 bursaries, plus an additional $1,000 bursary for the children or grandchildren of staff and board. The successful applicants are selected anonymously and chosen based on their community and school involvement. I'd now like to call upon Ken Shea to announce our 2021 annual bursaries recipients. Ken?
Thank you, Mary. Our youth are our future, and we're very pleased to see that we have a very promising future based on our applicants. These individuals have proven that they are not only future leaders, but they're already leaders today. Again, this year, the Bursary Committee had the very difficult task of identifying the top candidates, plus the single internal candidate for the family bursary. We'd like to extend a special welcome to each of this year's successful applicants who are joining us at this virtual meeting this evening. We hope that they'll continue to think of East Coast Credit Union as a financial institution of choice, and we invite them to talk to us about how we can partner in achieving their financial success. The first winner, Alexandra Beaton from Mabu. Alexandra plans to attend St. FX University to complete a Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition. The second winner, Haley Bishop. Haley Bishop is from Hatchet Lake, and she plans to attend Mount St. Vincent University to complete a Bachelor of Arts. Third, Skylar Boylan from Bedford, and Skylar plans to attend Dalhousie University to complete a Bachelor of Science. Next, Hannah Delorey from St. Andrews. Hannah has not made a final decision on her university of choice yet, but she will be completing a business degree. Victoria O'Brien from Lewisdale. Victoria plans to attend St. FX University to complete a Bachelor of Science in Human Kinetics. Tessa Pelrine from Maryvale. Tessa plans to attend Dalhousie University to complete a Bachelor of Medical Sciences. Mackenzie Sampson McGaw from Lewisdale. Mackenzie plans to attend Dalhousie University to complete a Bachelor of Nursing. Layla Shiu Tao Stewart from Halifax, and Layla plans to attend Dalhousie University to complete a Bachelor of Arts. Mary Beth Stewart from Antigonish plans to attend Dalhousie University to complete a Bachelor of Science. And I'm also delighted to announce the recipient of this year's family bursary, who is a daughter of an employee who works in our Port Hawkesbury branch. The successful recipient is Jaden Lily Shaw from Lycogama, and Jaden plans to attend St. Francis Xavier University to complete a Bachelor of Science in Human Kinetics. Please join me in congratulating all of our bursary recipients, and we wish them all the best of good luck with their studies. We wish you much future success. I'll turn it back over to you, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken, and I echo your congratulations to our bursary recipients. Congratulations to them all, and good luck in the future. I'd now like to introduce Michael Leonard, who's the President and CEO of Atlantic Central, and he will bring greetings on behalf of Atlantic Central and League Savings and Mortgage. Mike?
Thanks, Mary, and good evening, everyone. I want to start by thanking you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight and congratulate all of you on another successful year. 2020 was a year like no other, as Ken and Mary have already said. It caused us to adapt quickly and work together to help each other. And these are qualities that we know well in the credit union system. They're part of our founding principles as cooperatives, and cooperation amongst cooperatives is at the core of our Atlantic credit union system collaboration model. From our early beginnings in Antigonish, we're proud to be part of a global movement that now in Atlantic Canada has grown to include 300,000 members, over $11 billion in member mortgages, loans, and deposits, and one where we consistently rank #1 in service to members. And we've continued to build on the experiences and motivations of those first credit union members to build financial independence through financial advice, and have moved financial education and our products and services into new areas and new mediums, because that's what members and potential members want. The pandemic has taught us a lot. It's accelerated the adoption of new approaches and new technologies for all businesses, including financial institutions. And we're proud to hear that credit unions ranked #1 in customer service during the pandemic. That required a lot of change and took a lot of work we did together as an Atlantic region. And in true cooperative fashion, we worked together to manage through the pandemic last year. And as we start to come out of the other end of what many are calling the biggest business disruption in modern history, you should know that your credit union played a big part in our region's success last year. Let's go to the next slide, please. So while we're pleased with how we performed during the pandemic, our research tells us that consumers broadly and credit union members specifically want more convenience, more access, and they want more digital. And it's important to recognize that your credit union's moving in this direction because that's what members want. They want to be able to move their money electronically 24/7, whenever and wherever they want. We talk a lot in the credit union system about the need to attract new and younger members. And by the way, congratulations to all of the scholarship and bursary winners tonight. And the research is clear. If we want to attract and keep members, especially younger ones, we have to improve and expand our digital offerings. And here is where scale is important. So remember that your credit union is working hard to keep pace with institutions that are more than $1 trillion in assets now, who spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year on technology. So how do we do that? We do it through collaboration and consolidation. We collaborate in the Atlantic region better than any other place in Canada. Our regional model leverages our investments so that we can share costs among all 45 credit unions. And that's led to some remarkable achievements. We're the first part of the country to have every credit union offer all 3 mobile payment platforms That's Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, and Google Pay. And that's a big deal for folks who want to pay for things with their mobile phone. And even more important, since the pandemic has put increased emphasis on touchless transactions. And soon we'll be the only part of the country where every credit union will be able to offer online account opening, lending, and deposit taking. And I also want to mention that you should be proud of the role that East Coast Credit Union plays in our regional system. Your credit union is a leader, always the first to put your hand up to work on the next new idea and pushing for us to collectively respond to the needs of our members. And I want to take a moment to thank your CEO, Ken Shea, for his commitment to regional collaboration and to moving us collectively forward. We couldn't have made the progress we've made as an Atlantic system without your leadership. So while these are great achievements, the thing to remember is that even working together as well as we do, we still have to do things 45 times. There's a significant amount of duplication in our regional model, and that adds costs and time. Members expect services to be offered quickly, and they don't want to hear that it's going to take us longer than Royal Bank because we're small. So while we're excited about all that we've accomplished and proud of the work that we do together, Atlantic Central believes strongly that more change is required. We're strong supporters of credit union mergers, and we're strong supporters of the merger that you're considering. So thanks for the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and I want to wish you every success with your merger discussions.
Great, thank you, Mike. I appreciate your leadership at Atlantic Central and your willingness to attend and deliver a message to our members this evening. As a side note, I might mention that Mike has been awarded the I think this year and last year, both years, one of the top CEOs in Atlantic Canada. So congratulations to you, and again, thank you. I now have the pleasure to reintroduce David Morehouse. David is the Director of Legal Services for Atlantic Central and League Savings and Mortgage Company. And David will act as our parliamentarian and scrutineer for our meeting this evening. So I'd like to welcome David especially and thank him for agreeing to perform these duties for us this evening, and also in terms of preparing us for the meeting. So thank you, David. Our bylaws require 17 members in attendance to constitute a quorum for tonight's meeting. Our board secretary, Ann Sears, has confirmed that we have 137 members attending the virtual annual meeting this evening. We have quorum. At this time, we would like to honor members who have passed away in 2020 and others from our communities who have suffered or have passed away during this last difficult years. We think of members like Donald Barry, a former chair of Nova Scotia Credit Union and also of our legacy Virgin Glen Credit Union, who passed away late last week. Please join me in a moment of silence to recognize those members. Thank you. At this time, I would like to call for an approval of tonight's agenda, which you can see on the screen. I will ask anyone who wishes to move or second the approval of the agenda to please type "I move" or "I second" into the Q&A window on the bottom of your screen. Would someone move and second the approval of the meeting agenda? So I see that John has moved the agenda be approved, and seconded by Amy Johnson. So the motion to approve the agenda has been moved by John and seconded by Amy Johnson, and we'll collect John's last name in our records. With the motion moved and seconded, is there any discussion? If you have discussion, please use the Q&A function to type in your question or comment, and we'll pause to provide an opportunity for you to post your comments for discussion. So thank you, John. So our mover was John Peach. I appreciate you confirming that. As there does not appear to be any more questions, we will proceed with the question. So please answer the poll in favor or opposed to the motion when it appears on your screen. We will pause momentarily while the votes are cast and tabulated. All right, so there's 100% in favor and 0% opposed to the motion. The motion is carried. The agenda has been approved. Thank you, everyone. We now move to the next agenda item, and the next agenda item is the minutes of the prior meeting, the prior AGM. For the process of approving and passing the 2020 AGM minutes, only members in attendance for the respective meeting whose minutes are being adopted can move or second a motion to approve those minutes. The minutes of the 2020 AGM held on April the 14th, 2020 are contained in the electronic meeting materials mentioned at the beginning of this meeting. I will ask you, are there any errors or omissions in the 2020 AGM minutes? If you have errors or omissions, please use the Q&A function to indicate the proposed corrections, and we'll pause momentarily to allow for our members to have an opportunity to type into the Q&A.
There's a question from Dan that says, what about election of directors?
So the election of the director, there was no election, but that will be described coming up, and there is of course a process there. So we have on the agenda our chair of the nominations committee, and who will present the information. But with regard to the minutes for the 2020 AGM, is there any discussion about those minutes? All right, we've been asked to provide a little more time for people to type into the Q&A, and we'll be mindful of that, of course. There have been no corrections posted, and so now we'd like to call for approval of the 2020 AGM minutes. Those minutes were available online on the East Coast Credit Union website. I will ask anyone who wishes to move or second the approval of the minutes to please type "I move" or "I second" into the Q&A window on the bottom of your screen. Would someone move and second the approval of the 2020 AGM minutes? So Kathy moves the motion to approve the 2020 AGM minutes, and Claire Rankin seconds the motion. If there are any further questions about the minutes, I would ask that you type them into the chat box, and if you have questions or comments, I'll ask our moderator to read them aloud. As there do not appear to be any further questions with regard to the AGM minutes, we will now ask you to please answer a poll in favor or opposed to the motion when it appears on your screen. We will pause momentarily while the votes are cast and tabulated. With 100% in favor and 0% opposed, the motion is carried. The 2020 AGM minutes have been approved. Now, I do see from some of the Q&A that there are some comments raised. We will get an opportunity to read those comments and questions as we move through the reports during the meeting. So there'll be lots of opportunity provided to actually to do that. With the 2020 AGM minutes approved, is there any business arising from these minutes? If there is any business arising to note, please use the Q&A function to indicate such business for consideration. And I'll ask our moderator, Peyton Conrad, to read comments or questions. With no unfinished business raised from the 2020 AGM minutes, we'll move on to our next item. The next item on the agenda is the chair's report. So looking back on 2020, it is impossible not to acknowledge the impact the pandemic has made on all of our lives. The East Coast Credit Union Board of Directors continue to focus our strategy on our members, products and service innovation, developing and engaging our employees, embracing new technologies, investing in our digital platform, and supporting our communities. Our members responded to our efforts by adopting digital products and services at a rapid pace in order to keep both themselves and our staff safe during the ongoing pandemic. Your board of directors is aware of the evolving digitization in the financial services industry and the expressed expectations of members from our credit union to evolve concurrent with the industry. And Mike Leonard's report from earlier this evening highlights the importance of that digitization and the adoption by credit union members across Atlantic Canada, not just in East Coast. Further investments in digitization in our employees and in our communities remain priorities for East Coast Credit Union. While 2020 had its challenges, we know that the future will bring more. We are well positioned to face those challenges and look for more opportunities to benefit our members and our communities. One of those opportunities to better position our credit union for investment in members, employees, and community is the proposed amalgamation of 3 credit unions: East Coast Credit Union, Teachers Plus Credit Union, and Valley Credit Union. The proposed amalgamation will be addressed later in the meeting through a special resolution for which voting began as of June 14th and continues through this evening. We'll speak more about this special resolution later in the meeting, and there will be an opportunity to ask questions about the prior year following the next report, which is the CEO's report. So I'll call upon Ken Shea, our President and CEO, for the CEO's report. Ken?
Thank you, Mary. 2020 was certainly an extraordinary year, and one we'll not soon forget. I think we'll remember for years to come. Through the challenges and adversity in 2020, East Coast Credit Union remained committed to our members and focused on working diligently with them to ensure their banking with us continued to be easy and as convenient as possible. We adopted new technologies to address their needs, and to grow. East Coast Credit Union has continued to focus on this key focus of meeting our members' needs. We introduced new online self-serve appointment booking tools, mobile wallets, and other items which allowed members to pay for items up to a certain dollar amount through things like Google, Samsung, and Apple Pay. We also launched our new Aura card, which is a loyalty card that's reloadable and prepaid. It allows people to have the ability to use a MasterCard in a prepaid environment, as well as a financial wellness app is attached to it, and it offers discounts and rewards to those that are participating at both local and national merchants. With COVID-19 arriving in March of 2020, we had to act quickly. We implemented policies and procedures that kept our staff and our members safe. We reduced our hours to help members complete their daily needs in a safe environment in their homes. We increased our ability to service them both online, through mobile channels, and on the telephone. We also increased the number of staff available to assist these members in these various ways. We offered additional transactions for free on all of our service charge packages during the months of March, April, and May of 2020. And this was to assist members as they had to shift their transactions to more electronic, and we wanted to help them not end up with more fees. We also increased our East Coast Credit Union contactless card limits from $100 to $250. To allow payments to be made in a safer way. We helped members in need by deferring mortgage and loan payments and assisted them with their cash flows by offering loans and credit limit increases through our pandemic relief program. And we began the acceptance of applications through the CEBA relief program to help our small business members that were impacted by the pandemic. These were just a few of the initiatives that we embraced to assist our members through these challenging times. Even though the pandemic presented enormous challenges, we also saw many accomplishments throughout 2020, and we continued to demonstrate our commitment to our communities by giving back in many ways. East Coast Credit Union was named one of the top employers by Atlantic Business Magazine, with myself, Ken Shea, named as one of the top CEOs in Atlantic Canada, top 50 CEOs. And I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I'm very proud of that for being a 5-time recipient of that award. We were also named as one of the top employers in Nova Scotia. We continue to pride ourselves on giving back to our communities in meaningful ways. Before the pandemic hit in March, we were presenting sponsors at the Downtown Dartmouth Ice Festival and the coldest night of the year in New Glasgow. With staff volunteering at both events, we also provided monetary donations. As the global pandemic reached our communities, this called for more support than ever before. And I'm proud to say that our team at East Coast Credit Union were up to the challenge. Alongside other Atlantic credit unions, we joined the Loyal to Local Challenge to help inject over $70,000 into Atlantic Canadian businesses. We also led an initiative joined by other Nova Scotia credit unions to make a $50,000 donation to the VON in Nova Scotia to help fund their Meals on Wheels program. We are excited to be able to donate $10,000 to Feed Nova Scotia at a time when Nova Scotians needed it most. And to also make a $21,000 donation to the Hospice Society in Cape Breton to help with the construction of their new facility. We held our 4th annual East Coast CU Cares Random Acts of Kindness campaign, which saw our staff perform many wonderful acts of kindness throughout our communities, including promoting local farmers markets, restaurants, and businesses. This event is just another example of the dedication of our staff team in supporting their local communities. Thank you to each and every one of you for your role in making these initiatives a success. We ended 2020 on a positive financial note, and despite the economic challenges we all faced, East Coast Credit Union continued to grow and maintain a strong financial position. Thank you to our board of directors for their guidance, support during the past year. Your clear direction and governance were vital to our success. To our staff, who are our greatest asset, they continue to prove in 2020 that they had the ability to pivot and to adjust when faced with adversity. Our management staff have shown dedication, professionalism, and outstanding work ethic in providing essential services to our members, and we did so impeccably under very difficult circumstances. I'd also like to thank our members who supported us throughout 2020 for your combined commitment to East Coast Credit Union and for your flexibility to support the changes that were required to accommodate everyone's safety during the pandemic. We appreciate your business and would like to sincerely thank you for banking local with East Coast Credit Union. As we move through the pandemic and the year ahead, we remain committed to keeping you informed and continuing to support you. We are committed to our members, our staff, and the community's safety, and will continue to make changes as necessary while we continue to serve your banking needs and help you to achieve financial success. Thank you, Mary.
Great, thank you, Ken, for your report. Now we have an opportunity you have an opportunity to ask questions about these 2 reports. So please use the Q&A function to ask your question. Now we'll pause to provide an opportunity for you to post your comments. And I understand from reading the Q&A that you would like a little more time to be able to type those questions in. So we'll pause for a few moments to entertain questions. We do have a moderator, Peyton Conrad, who will read the questions aloud, and either Ken or I or appropriate person will answer those questions. So just a momentary pause if anyone has questions of the chair and or the CEO.
Chris asks, when can we ask questions about our current strategic plan?
So thank you, Chris, for your question. As you probably know, the strategic plan is available on the board website, but we'd certainly be happy to entertain a question about, if you have a question about strategy of East Coast Credit Union, now would be a good time.
Chris asks, just wondering why the amalgamation was not part of the plan.
So I'll start the question, Ken, you may have some follow-up with it, but amalgamation, part of our strategic plan, one of the elements of it, or one of the goals, as stated, is growth. And one of the mechanisms for growth is amalgamation. So one of the reasons for the amalgamation, of course, is a part of a growth strategy. And of course, there are other reasons for the amalgamation as well. Ken, did you want to respond to Chris as well?
Yeah, I think it is covered in our strategic plan, Mary. It's under the partnerships and strategic alliances with other credit unions and other system partners. So we do have it there. We obviously don't have it as we're going to amalgamate with this credit union or that credit union. It's, you know, as you can appreciate, a strategic plan is kind of a guidepost for organizations, not necessarily are we going to have in it all the details of what's being done because of, you know, competitive reasons and other things, but we do, I believe it is covered under that partnership area on the strategic plan.
Great, thank you, Ken. Any follow-up questions?
Chris says, but it just says niche markets. Is the Valley a niche market?
So the Valley does represent an opportunity for growth in terms of branch structure, in terms of products and services. So growth was one aspect, but also as Mike Leonard spoke about, as Ken spoke about, and I've spoken about, we needed to find opportunities for modernizing processes and investing in the digital, in their digitization. So that fell within that all-encompassing approach. Ken, did you want to add anything to Chris's comment or question?
No, I would only say the Valley's not a niche market. I think it's a very attractive market for the organization to have growth opportunities in. It doesn't have overlap with our current geography, so I think there's some logic to that. And we are actually doing a lot of similar things already, so that there was a little bit of synergy as far as the types of activities that were being done. And that led, you know, we were both partners in the Atlantic Credit Union Financial Management Wealth offering and some other partnerships, which led us to believe that there was an opportunity to have further discussions. So I think that basically covers it, though.
Great, thank you, Ken. And we'll have more opportunity to talk about the amalgamation in the part of the meeting coming up. Any final questions or comments in the chat? Peyton?
We are good to go. Chris says thank you.
Thank you for raising the question, Chris.
Oh, we actually just had one pop up.
Sure.
It says, if you can explain A, equity percentage, and whether that are at the right levels, and B, patronage policy and where we are on it. Thanks. From Anuj.
All
want
right.
me to-
Sure,
Sorry.
go ahead. Thank you, Anuj. Yes, Ken, go ahead and we can share the question, but if you want to start, that'd be great.
So I'll explain equity percentage first. So equity percentage is the percentage of retained earnings and shares that we have as a percentage of our overall assets. And as most people will recognize, and I'm sure that Jessica will point out, our accountant in the presentation of financial statements, that our equity level has declined a little bit over the last year, but mostly because of really strong growth due to the pandemic. The amount of deposits that people are maintaining is much higher, so that causes our assets to increase, which unless we can earn money on those, which you don't normally do right away, it takes a while for the equity to catch up. The percentage of equity required to have patronage, we've been provided with guidance by the regulators that we should be at an equity percentage of 8% or more. We're currently around 6%. With the changes that we're making through the amalgamation, we hope over the next 3 to 5 years to be getting closer to that 8%, which at that time we could look at if there is the ability to do patronage. We don't necessarily have a patronage policy per se today. And part of the reason for that, I believe, is that we need to invest back into our business. So in order to kind of grow and be able to support members in the ways that they want to be supported. So that includes, investing in digital, investing in services and products that they want, which means that we use those funds to kind of make the credit union stronger for the members versus giving them back to the members. We do try, however, to make sure that pricing is competitive. So we're trying to give the best price that we can up front when we do loans and mortgages, deposits, all those things. So, it's to try to balance between those two things, whether we keep it in equity, whether we give it out to the members, or whether we use it to invest in the forwarding of the credit union. So that is certainly a very complicated formula, I know, but that's, I think, an answer, unless there's a follow-up, Anuj, and unless, Mary, you had anything to add.
No, I can tell you that the board of directors is quite conscious of the equity position, and we look at it on a regular basis and the calculation. And we annually look at patronage as well. We haven't paid patronage in a number of years.
So follow-up Anuj had was the excess liquidity that's available during COVID. Does this present expansion of credit availability to members at more attractive terms, or is it a short-term blip? We're not really sure, I think is the real answer. And we are trying to do what we can to do that, to use it for members and to benefit them, either through finding ways to invest it to get more attractive returns, or to try to find ways to give it out to members through loans and programs that we already have. And so we're trying to make sure we're competitively priced and do the things that we need to. The only concern we do have is that there is a lot being written today about the fact that it could be a short-term situation. So we have to be somewhat cognizant of that and careful of how we handle those investments moving forward, because we don't want to get caught with a shortage of liquidity in the future because members decide to do more travel, to do more, restaurant visits, to do other things, spend money on things that they've been kind of waiting to do. So we believe that the next year or so will probably give us a much clearer picture of whether it's a long-term thing or a short-term thing. I hope that helps, Anuj.
Thank you, Ken. I think, Peyton, there's another question in the Q&A chat.
Anuj says, thanks for answering in detail. Appreciated. We live in interesting times. And I would just like to ask if you would like to defer amalgamation questions for now, or if you would like to have those asked currently.
I think we'll defer the amalgamation to the special resolution discussion, which is coming up. So we'll delay that.
I will save those for you till then. Thank you, Mary.
All right, one last, I do see that there was a question early on by one of our members, Mike Moeller. There's a series of questions there, and we'll address those after the auditor's report, which is reports on our financials. And if there are no other questions, I would now like to welcome Jessica Skinner from BDO to deliver the auditor's report. So Jessica.
Thank you, Mary. And thank you, everyone. My name is Jessica Skinner. I'm here from BDO, and I just want to say thank you for allowing us to be your auditors yet again this year. I've personally been with BDO for 7 years, and I've been involved with the East Coast's audit since I started. So it's been a really great experience. So I'll quickly run you through our audit report. So this year, similar to previous years, we were able to issue a clean audit opinion under International Financial Reporting Standards, or IFRS. This just breaks down our opinion, our basis for opinion, and then our responsibilities for the financial statements, as well as the responsibilities of management and those charged with governance for the financial statements. Go to the next page. And the second page again runs through the additional items that we do as auditors. So essentially what this report is saying is that we did not find anything that would lead us to believe that anything presented in the financial statements is false or misleading, and we are able to issue a clean audit opinion. Thank you. Next slide. Thank you. So you can see, I think we've already been chatting about it, certainly in Ken's presentation, as well as I think Mary touched on it as well. East Coast had a nice healthy year with a growth in the assets of approximately 100 million, and the loans also increased about 41 million. You'll also see that deposits increased about 99 million. And related to the blip in deposits, I think we were just chatting about, you know, there was excess liquidity at year end, which contributed to the increase in assets at year end as well. Equity continues to increase, and the equity percentage at year end of 6.03% is in excess of the required minimum of 5%, although it did decrease slightly this year. Next. Thank you. Overall, financial revenue decreased slightly, and this is a function of the drop in deposit rates, particularly on the short term, the liquidity deposits during 2020 related to the decrease in the prime lending rate, which happened in a flurry of days in March 2020. Financial expenses also decreased for the same reason. And then your financial revenue minus your financial expense brings you to your financial margin, which increased slightly from last year, which overall is a good thing. Other revenue increased about $1 million, which was primarily related to additional government subsidies received in the form of the Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy. Overall, operating expenses increased about 4.5%. Of which about 2% was cost of living increases in payroll. There was a one-time large pension payment made, and the remaining were just fluctuations in normal operating expenses. Overall, the operating margin is pretty consistent from last year, which, although I have never lived through a pandemic, I'd say is a great thing to do in the year of a pandemic. And then overall net income is decreased slightly. The difference between the operating margin and the net income, the difference there is just the current income tax provision. I think that's my last slide, so I'll stick it around if anyone has any questions on that.
Great, thanks, Jessica. Are there any questions about the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2020 that you'd like to pose either to Jessica, our auditor, or of course, Ken Shea, the CEO or chair? If you have a question, please put them in the Q&A chat, and we'll wait a few minutes so that you have plenty of opportunity to chat.
We have a question from Anuj. They say, thanks. Can you explain a bit more what other revenue includes broadly?
For sure. So I believe there's a copy of the financial statements on the website, or there would be shortly. And other revenue is detailed in note 16 or page 26 of the statements. So it includes things such as ATM surcharges, commissions, interact fees, mortgage penalties, rebates and profit shares, the CEBA, which was the Canadian Emergency Business Account, loan administration fees, which was new this year, service charges, foreign exchange gains, and rental income. So that's all broken down for the members in note 16 to the audited financial statements.
Oh, thank you, Jessica. I just want to note that the audited financial statements are available to all members via our website. Under corporate reports, and there's a link within the annual report to take you to the audit financial statement in their entirety, and the note that you mentioned, Jessica, I think was note 16. Yeah. And so you can find that in the financial statements through that route. Thank you, Anuj.
Anuj says, thanks, we'll review the detailed statement. Chris asks, what are we planning to do with the $1 million from the wage subsidy?
So Ken, this would be a question for you, please.
Yeah, so I think the wage subsidy was provided as it was provided to many businesses because Fortunate for us and our employees, we didn't have to actually lay anybody off or take any job action during the pandemic. We were able to stay at full staff and fully operational. We did receive the funds because of the fact that our revenue was impacted by the significant decline in interest rates. And so it has already been spent, I guess, to pay wages to staff. So that was what it was for. And there's a formula that the government gave, and we did apply for it because we felt that it helps to maintain our equity and our ability to keep our staff employed. I hope that's a good answer, Chris, but if you have a follow-up, let me know.
Chris's follow-up is, could it be going to maybe the humanitarian fund, as many suffered during the pandemic?
Yeah, so as I say, I think we've already spent it to pay wages and things for employees. So that would be something that would need to be considered outside of that.
Chris said, but we made more than 1 million this year.
Yes, but we have a requirement to make a certain amount just to stay within regulatory requirements. It's usually a minimum of 25 basis points, and we're not that far over that. I think we're around 35 or 40 with our latest financials. So it is required that we do make money.
Great, thank you, Ken, and thanks for your question, Chris. Are there any further questions, Peyton, that have come up in the discussion? And if not, we'll move to one of the first questions that was posed this evening that I think would be appropriate, parts of which would be appropriate to ask now.
Okay, no further questions, but we will go back to the first one from Mike. Why is our money being used to promote the amalgamation? There were advertisements every day to accept amalgamation. Who is supposed to pay for those who are against the amalgamation? Also, how much is Ken Shea's salary per year? How does it compare to our former manager at the Bursaries Credit Union? Also, why was the defined...
We'll just stop there.
I'll stop there for you.
Thank you, Peyton. So the first part of the question that Mike Moeller raised is amalgamation oriented and related to the costs of promotion of amalgamation. And the costs of promotion of amalgamation are borne by the credit union like any marketing costs are, and supported by the board of directors. And we'll talk about the amalgamation in the next section of our meeting. The board feels strongly and is recommending the amalgamation and want our members to know about it and be aware and access information. So we can talk more about that coming up. The next question was about the salary of the CEO. If you look at the financial statements, there is a disclosure about the salary of the key executives. And so that's in one of the last notes of the financial statements. We do not disclose individual salaries, and we will not disclose individual salary or salary information, but it is disclosed for our top executives in aggregate. Next question, Peyton.
Why was the defined benefit pension plan of the workers being used as negotiating bargaining chip at the last round of negotiations after I was told at the original amalgamation meeting that the union negotiated pension plan of Bursaries would not be affected? The ECCU sure tried to change for the negative at the last round for the workers in the Antigonish and St. Andrews.
So there's multiple layers to that question and multiple layers. I'm going to call on Ken Shea in terms of the pension. And there was a change, but the change did support our existing employees. And Ken, I'll get you to maybe describe what you can about that. There is information in the, just before you start, Ken, I apologize for talking over you.
No problem.
There is information again in the financial statements about the plan. So I refer the member to that, but Ken, I'll also ask you to respond.
So as part of the original plan, we did not interfere with the existing members of the former Virgin Grand Pension Plan. So all members that were in that plan as employees covered under the collective agreement continue to be covered. The difference is that we were struggling as an organization because of our size with a very there was increasing pension liabilities, of course, because of rate changes and various things, and because of the size of the pension plan, it is one of those things that's hard to manage for smaller organizations, and we would see large swings each year. So we did reach an agreement with the bargaining unit to remove future. So if we hire somebody new, they get our existing East Coast Credit Union pension plan, which is still a very generous plan, but a defined contribution plan instead of a defined benefit plan, which allows us to know what the cost is because we're, along with the employee, contributing today, and then that money is earning money so that they're able to earn a pension in the future. And we felt that this was the best way for us forward as an organization. It's unfortunate, but I think in a lot of cases, organizations are struggling with defined benefit pensions and their ability to keep up with the liabilities, especially because they do change over time, depending on what's happening in the rate environment, returns on investments, and all kinds of different dynamics do play into those in the long term. So it was trying to balance having a good pay and benefit plan for all of our employees going forward, and also trying to manage the liability that we did have already to our employees. So I think the solution that we found was agreed to and was one that that we're working with. So I hope that answers the question, Mike.
Thank you, Ken.
I think there's a question from Adele around the public numbers of the voting and how we'll be able to evaluate our outreach efforts. I believe when we do our announcement, we will provide to the membership the numbers of people that voted. And while there's only 130 here tonight, I know that there is quite a few more electronic votes that will probably take place over the period of time. Normally we're about 10 times that in voting. I think in the, for election of board of directors, I think the last one was around 700. The one before that was around 1,200. So there is it's still a small portion of members, but a pretty decent percentage as far as the number of members that do weigh in on those types of elections.
Solvig Overby asks, can you share the link to the audited financial statement referred to by the auditor? I can't find the link to it in the 2020 annual report document. I might just be missing where it is.
Yeah, if you go to the index page, Solvig, it's right there. Under the financial statements, there's a link in that particular page. If you click on that, it will give you the actual financial statements from BDO. I'm just trying to bring it up here on my computer so I can make sure I send you just to the right place. So if you go to our corporate reports page, yeah, where about us? The corporate reports, and then if you click on the AGM link, the annual report, link, when you open that on page 2, there's a thing that says click here for financial statements just between pages 9 and 10, and that will get you the information that you're looking for. If you're still having trouble, please let us know.
Thank you, Ken. We have one more question about amalgamation, and you answered 2 others. So do we want to go forward with that or hold that till?
I can try to answer that one. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can go ahead and read it if you'd like. Yeah.
The last amalgamation 5 years ago, we were at 6.45, and the reason for the amalgamation would see us at a 7.4 by now.
Yes. And, if everything happened the way we thought it would happen at the last amalgamation, we might have been there. One of the things that's had a dramatic impact on us, I believe, is the pandemic. So we also had much stronger growth over the last few years, which I think is a good thing for the credit union and for members. So we've seen significant organic growth over the last 5 years. You know, we were 6 or 7% the last few years, and we were over 10 during the pandemic. When we did our modeling for our amalgamation 5 years ago, we were looking at a little bit smaller growth rate. I think we were in the 5 to 6 range. And because of that, obviously, if you have more assets, then you need more equity. And our earnings, while they met our plan, they didn't exceed our plan as much as we would have liked. And therefore, we weren't able to build as much equity in those last few years. And that's been even further hampered, I believe, by the the large amount of deposits that we grew last year because of the pandemic. So that, that 10% took us from, if we would have had even normal growth, we might have been at like 6.6 or 6.7% at the end of this year instead of at 6. And because it kind of works in the reverse, if you have growth, it reduces your equity. So that's, I think, the answer. But if you had a follow-up, Crystal, I'd be happy to try to take that as well.
Chris says, so how can we rely on the new amalgamation projections?
Well, the only thing I could say is that they are projections, and we try to do our best to make them as accurate as possible. And we have to look at what's happening, and I don't think anybody would have considered this particular situation that we're going through over the last year and a half as being what we would have thought would be normal. So sometimes they don't work out exactly right, but we have been fairly accurate on a number of the pieces. The amount of earnings, our growth, we exceeded our growth targets. The equity wasn't quite there, but the others were. So I think mostly the projections were quite reliable, except for that one exception.
Thank you, Ken. Are there any other questions in the Q&A chat? I'll look to Peyton for other.
There are no further questions in the chat.
All right, thank you. I'd like to call for approval of the auditor's report, and I will ask anyone who wishes to move or second the approval of the agenda for the auditor's report to please type I move or I second into the Q&A window on the bottom of your screen. So would someone move and second the approval of the auditor's report? And Peyton, I'm going to rely on you to indicate movers and seconders, please.
Chris moves the motion. Denis Maddie seconds the motion.
So the auditor's report has been moved by Chris and second by Denis Maddie. With the motion moved and seconded, is there any further discussion? If there is further discussion, please use the Q&A button to type in your question or comment. So Peyton, does there appear to be any more questions or comments?
Nope, there are no further questions.
Great. As we do not appear to have any more questions, we'll proceed with the question. So the question will appear in a poll, and if you're in favor or opposed to the motion to approve the auditor's report, please do so by indicating in the poll. We'll pause momentarily while the votes are cast and tabulated. So the poll is in process. Peyton, could you indicate on the screen the percent in favor and the percent opposed?
There is 100% in favor and 0% opposed.
Thank you. With 100% in favor and 0% opposed. The motion to approve the auditor's report has been approved. The motion has been carried. Thank you, Jessica, for your presentation. I'll now ask Dan Frazier, Chair of the Audit Committee, to move that East Coast Credit Union engage BDO as successors as our external auditors for the fiscal year 2021. So Dan will be using the Q&A function.
Dan says, I so move.
So Dan Frazier moves the approval of BDO or their successors, our external auditors for fiscal year 2021. Would someone second the motion to engage BDO?
Dan Frazier moves the motion and Bill Timmons seconds it.
Thank you, Peyton. So Dan Frazier moves the motion and Bill Timmons seconds the motion. With the motion moved and seconded, is there any discussion? Please use the Q&A function to type in your question or comment. We will pause to provide an opportunity for you to post your comments for discussion.
There are no questions in the chat.
Great, thank you, Peyton.
We do have a couple of raised hands. I would just encourage those that have their hands raised. It's difficult to do a meeting like this if we don't have some format. So if you could put your comments in the Q&A, we can try to engage that way. That would be preferred. I noticed Kevin Becker's, Colleen Roberts, and I think John Peach maybe might have had a question. So I just want to make sure that they get heard if there's anybody that did have a comment that they wanted to share. Sorry, Mary, for interrupting.
No, great. Having a little difficulty seeing that on the screen, so appreciate that. So for those with their hands raised, we'll just wait a few moments for you to have an opportunity to put your question, if you would like to, into the chat box. And Peyton, I'll get you to monitor that for us if you would.
Absolutely.
Colleen said she's all good, so that one's clear. We're just waiting for the other two. So.
Okay, great.
John said he's good as well.
Okay, we'll just wait one more moment and we'll proceed.
There are no further questions in the chat, so I think you're good to proceed. And oh, here we go. Anuj Jain asks, time allowing, it will be useful to hear very briefly how ECCU is engaging in green, social, and inclusive economic approaches.
All right, thank you, Anuj. There's lots of engagement through our community impact committee and through the work of the credit union. And maybe Ken, I'll ask you to describe some of the work that's being done with Bullfrog and Nature's Trust, etc.
Yeah, I would. I think there is a bit of it disclosed or discussed in the annual report, but I will try to highlight a few things. We are very engaged in trying to create a sustainable environment. So 100% of the power that we use in our branch operations and for our ATM fleet is produced renewably through a partnership with Bullfrog Power. So we buy power from the grid, but we help offset power produced in a green way, and we believe that this is a way we can lead by example. We also, in many of the renovations that we've been doing with our own footprint, have been looking at installation of things like solar panels, LED lighting, and other things, heating systems that are more efficient in an effort to try to reduce our carbon footprint. We do plan over the next few years to continue to look at this and also look at ways we can encourage members to do it. So we do have a number of lending programs that are designed to assist with that. From a community perspective as far as inclusivity and some of the other things that were on the list. I'm just trying to make sure I get them right because the question's gone. We would we do have a committee of the board, which other members are invited to participate in as well, our community impact committee, and they do review and look at all the initiatives that we're doing in an attempt to try to make sure that we have a balance between environmental sustainability, support to community economic development, and the other pillars that we have in place. So we are trying to create that balance in the work that we do, and we will probably, I think, as most financial institutions are going to need to do over the next few years, we will be embarking on looking at our the impact of our book of business as well. And I think there's some work being done at the Canadian Credit Union Association, and I believe our VP of operations, Sally Vanderwill, is on a committee that is looking at how we quantify our impact with members, and how we make sure that we're engaging them in ways that we can help them with their environmental sustainability. And there are a number of other causes and groups that we've given to over the year. For me to list them all, there's quite a few, so it's probably better to refer you to the report. The one other thing I will say is that as an individual organization, we have done some work around diversity and inclusion, and we'll continue to work on that as well over the next year or so. We've so I think there's been a number of things that have been done. I hope that covers enough, Anush, but if you need more, certainly open to another follow-up.
Anush says, thank you. I will read the report. It may be really helpful if ECCU can consider having ESG reporting moving forward. Perhaps as many others are now beginning to do this. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. So we'll make sure that's noted.
Great, thank you, Ken. Thanks, Anush, for the question as well. I'm just confirming, Peyton, that there does not appear to be any further questions related to the appointment of the auditors.
Nope, there are no further questions in the chat. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, so with the motion to approve the auditors for the 2021 year has been moved and seconded. We'll now move to a poll, and the poll we'll ask you to answer whether you're in favor or opposed to the motion when it appears on your screen. Screen will pause momentarily while the votes are cast and tabulated.
So while we're doing that, Mary, there was a couple of comments in the questions. It was more comments than questions, but we did answer a few questions in the chat. And because of that, people didn't see the question and then the answer. So what we'll try to do is make sure we do stick with the format of asking the question. And there was also another suggestion that we look at having the person answering the question repeat the question as part of the answering process. So we'll try to do that as well, so that we can incorporate, make sure that everybody online hears and sees exactly what we're saying.
Okay.
So I just thought I'd bring that up while we were waiting for that poll.
Great, thank you, Ken. Great suggestions. Okay, and do we have the polling results?
The polling results are 99% in favor and 1% opposed.
Thank you, Peyton. So with 99% in favor and 1% opposed the motion for BDO to be appointed as external auditor for the 2021 fiscal year has been approved. Motion carried. We'll now move to a report from our chair of the nominations committee. And so I'll now ask Leroy McCachran, who, as I mentioned, is chair of the nominating committee, to explain the board nominee and election process and present your board nominees for 2021. Leroy.
Thank you, Mary. My name is Leroy McCachran, and I'm chair of the nomination committee of the board. Other members of the committee are Ann Sears and Dan Fouchier. Each year, the board appoints a nomination committee, which makes its best efforts to identify and encourage nominations from eligible members that are representative of the diversity of the credit union and who possesses the skills, knowledge, and expertise required to serve on the board. The committee reviewed the nominations to ensure the nominees are eligible candidates for the board of directors. Eligibility requirements that the nominee be a member of the ECCU, East Coast Credit Union, in good standing and over 18 years of age. Nominees are nominated by a minimum of 2 members and are required to submit an overview of their interests and related experiences and skills. The committee also presides over the board of directors election and ensures that the election procedures as specified in the Credit Union Act and bylaws of the credit union are followed. This year, there were 4 3-year term positions and 1 2-year term position for election. The call for nominations was made on February 4th. The close of nominations was on March 4th, resulting in a competent slate of 4 candidates. The candidates were approved by the nomination committee on March 11th. With there being fewer nominations than the number of vacancies available, the nominees are declared elected by acclamation. And no board of directors election was required this year. The candidates in alphabetical order elected by acclamation are John Burke, Tyrell Gibbon, Kathy McDonald Rankin, and Bill Timmons. Under bylaw 6.14, when directors are declared elected by acclamation and there are different terms available, the terms are to be determined by draw, which we'll conduct a quick draw now. So basically, there's 4 positions for a 3-year term, and in the event that there's someone nominated from the floor, then there would be 5 people. So we have the names done up. We're going to put them in a little container. Sally will hold the names in front of you there, and then I'll fold them and put them into a little container I have here.
So John Burke, Tyrell Giffen, just naming the names Sally's holding up. Bill Timmons. And the 4th one, Sally, is Kathy McDonald Rankin. Thank you.
And the one.
Yeah, if there's a candidate from the board.
Don't put it in unless there's.
AGM candidate, if there is one. Kathy McDonald Rankin. Tyrell Giffen. Bill Timmons. John Burke. Under bylaw 6.14, when directors are declared elected by acclamation. Under bylaw 6.14, where vacancies still exist, the chair is required to make an additional call for nominations at the members' meeting. I will now turn the meeting back to Mary for that purpose.
Great, thank you, Leroy. So as Leroy is mentioning, where there is a vacancy on the board, this is a call for any nominations from members for filling the vacancy, which is a 3-year term. In order for nominees to be considered by the members, their nomination must be supported by 2 members in good standing and meet all of the eligibility requirements under our bylaws and the Credit Union Act. If a nomination is brought forward and supported by 2 members, we will pause the meeting while Leroy McCachran, our chair of nominations, confirms the nominee's eligibility. Once that due diligence is completed, we report back to the assembly and proceed. Before we proceed, and before I ask if there are other nominations to the board to fill the vacant seat, Leroy, I'll ask you to confirm the terms of the acclaimed members and of the vacant seat, if you would, please.
So the terms, the 3-year terms are Bill Timmons, Tyrell Giffen, Kathy McDonald Rankin, if there's an election from the floor, and the 2-year term is John Burke.
Great, thank you very much, Leroy, that confirms. I now will ask, are there any nominations for filling the board vacancy as described? To bring forward a nomination, please use the Q&A function to type in the name of the individual being nominated. We will pause to provide an opportunity for you to post your comments for discussion and/or your nominations.
We have a nomination from Sue Adams, who has nominated Christine Hanlon for the vacancy.
Thank you, Sue. So nominees must have, to confirm, Leroy, nominations must have 2 nominators?
That is correct.
So we have 1 nomination for Christine Hanlon. Is there a second nomination for Christine Hanlon?
She's a member still, isn't she?
Elaine McLean, we have a nominator from Elaine McLean, who nominates Christine Hanlon for the vacancy.
Great, thank you. So we have a nomination of Chris Hanlon and 2 nominations. Are there any other nominations for the board of directors? I'll call for nominations again. Are there any other nominations?
Denise Maddie asks, is Anuj Jain interested?
So question to Anuj Jain, if Anuj is interested in a nomination.
Anuj said, thank you for asking. I respectfully decline at this time, perhaps in the future.
Thank you, Anuj. I'll call one last time. Are there any other nominations? The board vacancy as described.
Mary, the candidate has to identify that she supports the nomination.
Yes, yeah, I'll ask. Yes, thank you. I will ask. Yeah. Hearing that there are no other nominations, I will now ask, as our nominations chair has requested and as required, I would ask that if Christine Hanlon, who's been nominated by 2 members, it can confirm her interest in filling the board vacancy as described.
Christine Hanlon says, I accept the nomination.
Terrific. So Christine Hanlon has been nominated by 2 members, and we'll now pause. I'll ask our chair of the nominations committee, Leroy McCachran, to confirm that Christine Hanlon is eligible for the board of directors.
Yes. Yeah, she is eligible. We had checked it.
Okay, great. So we do not appear to have any other nominations. And I just want to confirm that both of the nominators are members.
We'll check that and be back to you in a moment, Mary.
Okay. We'll just wait a few moments in order to confirm the nominator, and we may be welcoming a new, several new board members. So if you just give us a moment, we'll check on eligibility. So there is in the chat a question about whether questions can be asked. The only questions can be asked relate to this process and the nomination. So we'll have to delay other questions to other parts of the meeting. There is a nomination process underway, so I don't expect it to take too much longer.
There is also another question in the chat asking if we get to vote yes or no on this nomination.
No, the nominee will be acclaimed. There is no election per se, or no vote, unless there's another nominee. And I can confirm that with our parliamentarian, Dave Morehouse, but I do believe that is the process for nominations from the floor. So I can confirm that our legal counsel, parliamentarian, Dave Morehouse, confirmed that with one nomination for one vacancy, the member would be acclaimed to the board of director role.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Katrina Turnbull. We have a nomination from Katrina Turnbull, who has nominated Kim Mcdonald for the vacancy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So we have a second nomination, and that is the nomination of Kim Mcdonald. We would need a second nominator for Kim Mcdonald to proceed.
We have a nomination from Deneen Maddie, who has seconded the nomination for Kim Mcdonald for the vacancy.
Okay, so we have a second nominee for the board of directors, and that is Kim Mcdonald. And as we did in the last process, I will would ask Kim Mcdonald to confirm her interest in fulfilling the seat on the board of directors.
Where's Kim McDonald? I have
Sorry, someone's mic's on. Yeah, thank you. So Kim Mcdonald hopefully is on the meeting, and if Kim Mcdonald could indicate or confirm her interest.
Yeah. Just keep it.
There is no response from Kim Mcdonald thus far.
All right, we need Kim Mcdonald to confirm before we proceed. While we wait, I'll move to Leroy McCachran, and Leroy, ask you to confirm the nomination process for Christine Hanlon.
Mary, Christine Hanlon is a member in good standing. Sue Adams and Kim McLean, who moved and seconded, are also.
Elaine
McLean.
Okay, thank you.
We have still yet to receive a response from Kim Mcdonald. Possibly she's not on the call.
So we'll give just one more minute, and then we'll have to proceed.
We do have a note saying that she's trying to connect.
She's trying to connect. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
So if Kim Mcdonald confirms her interest, we'll also need to check on her eligibility. So so that without delay, Leroy, I'll ask to check on her availability, or if you need any more information about her.
Just one second. Okay. Mary, if they could tell us what Kim McDonald it is. I mean, it's a fairly common name. So if we could get an address or something, we could start the checking.
Okay, so we'll have to think about a process for identifying her without disclosing her address to everybody, but we'll figure that out shortly, I hope.
Would we be able to use a middle name?
Possibly, or we can get an email from her.
email, phone number.
Katrina Turnbull says she is having difficulty launching. She would like to decline the nomination and will try again during the next selection. Thank you and sorry for the delay.
Okay, So we have a nominee, and that nominee is Christine Hanlon. I thank Katrina and Denis for their nomination and for Kim Mcdonald getting back to us. So I will ask the third time if there are any other nominations, and then we'll move forward with the acclamation of Chris Hanlon as the only nominee for the board seat. So we'll just wait momentarily, and then we'll move along. Great. So there do not appear to be any other nominations. So I would like to congratulate all board members who've been elected by acclamation, including one this evening, and that is, of course, Chris Hanlon. So congratulations to all the board members who are new terms or continuing their terms. We'll next move to the next agenda item, which is old business. And I will ask if there are any questions regarding old business to please type those questions into the Q&A function as you have been doing. And we'll pause to provide an opportunity for you to post your comments for discussion. So again, I remind you that it's old business. So Peyton, can you confirm that there's no comments or questions with regard to old business?
There are no comments and questions during this time.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move to new business. The first item of new business is a special resolution to amalgamate the boards of East Coast Credit Union with Teachers Plus Credit Union and Valley Credit Union. The Board of East Coast Credit Union is recommending the approval of the amalgamation. Given the ongoing and significant changes in the financial services industry and the increased need for digital products and services, our credit union will need to invest in digital technologies to ensure that the products and services our credit union offers are what members want, and that those products and services remain competitive. The board continuously considers the best approaches and the necessary investments required to deliver what our members want in our highly regulated industry. The board considered amalgamation of these three credit unions as an appropriate approach to better position our credit union for the future. The three credit unions combined have the potential to offer our members better and more innovative products and services, an expanded branch network, competitive rates, and digital capabilities. To offer employees opportunities for career advancement, training, and of course, professional development. And to offer communities continued support for financial health, financial support, and of course, awareness in their community through volunteer hours and through publicity on website and social media, of course. I now invite you to watch a short video about the amalgamation.
A growing credit union is good for members, good for employees, and good for the communities we serve. Over the past 20 years, many credit unions in Nova Scotia have come together for the benefit of our members to form what we now know as East Coast Credit Union. Today, we're proud to serve over 50,000 members and employ a staff of more than 200 who live and work in communities across rural and urban Nova Scotia, all while being a top employer 3 years running. As we've grown, our investments in community have also increased by over 50%, and we've improved our financial position, which means we can invest in a stronger future for all, doing more for the members we serve and building our community focus and provincial strength.
Great, thank you. Now, for more information, I'm going to invite our President and CEO, Ken Shea, to provide a presentation about the amalgamation. I remind you that the amalgamation documents were available on the website, and I would appreciate, Ken, if you could provide us some highlights of the documents and the amalgamation plan.
Yeah, so I'll try to do so. As has already been discussed, the amalgamation information has been available since mid-June for members, and we have been doing our best to promote it through our social media as well as online and other venues. Maybe we'll go to the next slide. As Mary's mentioned, it is an amalgamation of 3 credit unions, East Coast Credit Union, of course, our credit union, with Teachers Plus, which is 1 branch in Bedford, Nova Scotia, but does serve members across the province of Nova Scotia that are connected to being teachers, as well as they do have an open community bond, so they do have some members in their local area as well. And then Valley Credit Union, which is similar to East Coast in that it's a community bonded credit union with an open bond, and they have a number of branches in the Valley. And all that information was detailed in the package that was shared with members. I just thought I'd share a quick slide, the next one, on the overview of the process and the agenda for what I'm going to talk about. We did have a process and a timeline. We'll talk a little bit about why we believe that amalgamation is a good option for East Coast Credit Union. We'll briefly cover some business plan summary pieces and look at the amalgamation agreement and regulatory requirements, as well as open the floor for question and answers. So the next slide. So during the last couple of years, I guess, since before the pandemic in 2020, we were having some discussions between us, Valley, and teachers. Those discussions happened over a period of time, but really started to come together late last year. In early this year, we had a number of meetings with committees from the various boards to reach a decision to look at amalgamation moving forward. And in May, we had votes of all 3 boards in support of the amalgamation, and started a process to communicate that with members and to develop a decision point, which we're at today. If the amalgamation is approved by the members, which we anticipate we'll know tomorrow by around lunchtime, then we would have to look at an official amalgamation date, which would likely be January of 2022. Next slide, please. So one of the things, why amalgamate? Well, what we've seen over the last 5 years or so since we amalgamated Bursaries and East Coast Credit Union, we've increased our members by 1,216. We've been able to create community investment of over 50% more than what we had in the year we first amalgamated. And we've increased our surplus by that same amount. And we've also improved our assets per member, or the assets that we have as an organization, by over 55%. Another number of reasons that are important, I think, is the value that we can generate for all 3 stakeholders that we have: our members, our community, and the employees. We believe that it'll allow us to provide a better range of products and services, and the ability to offer new and innovative products more quickly. It'll give us the ability for members to access through multiple convenient banking options, providing them with the opportunity to reach us when, where, and how they want. It will give us the ability to increase investments in competitive products and services that help our members achieve their financial goals. We'll have greater possibility and access to specialized financial services and expertise, because we'll have a larger team that can be more dedicated to those special services. And all members will have access to our member advice center with experienced staff ready to help them with their everyday banking needs, either over the phone or online. And we'll have larger loan limits so that we can deal with more of our requests as an organization in-house, which helps us to support the small business community. What it'll look like, the combined network is 26 branches across Nova Scotia, and they're all listed here, and it's all part of the package. So you can see that we do cover a fairly good geographic spread, and there's not a lot of redundancy in geographic markets. Most of the branches are spread out, and so there's not a geographic competition between the various outlets. Next slide, please. So local and community focused, we'll continue to work with a decentralized structure which maintains employment in the local area and improves our access to resources in communities. So allows us to maintain work in our local community, but at the same time allows opportunities for our employees to gain specialized skills and move into other areas that might not be available without amalgamation. We'll continue to provide locally based banking options and personalized service from the staff that our members know. So, there's no changes to that. Members will continue to benefit from local decision making. Many of our decisions are made in the branch, don't require having to go to the head office. And if they do go outside of the branch, it's still within the province, unlike many of our competitors, which would be into other provinces to have decisions made. We can continue to take a progressive approach to ensure we have a bright future for our new organization, and our local focus will mean we can continue to invest at a similar or enhanced level in the areas that are important to the members and our communities at large. Next slide, please. So we can continue our growth and sustainability. It improves our ability to thrive versus just survive in this new economic climate. We do believe that the next few years are going to be challenging for many businesses, and I don't think the credit union will be immune to how those economic challenges will impact us. Gives us greater capacity to provide innovative solutions to members through our scale. It reduces our cost of support through better alignment of resources at the member level. And it provides us with the opportunity to do things once versus doing them 3 times, which should improve the efficiency of the organization overall. So a business plan was submitted and it was available for all members. The newly merged credit union, if all members agree, would have 56,000 members. Assets under administration would be over $1.25 billion. We'd have 270 employees across 26 branches. I think that is, yeah. My eyes are getting bad. 26 branches in Nova Scotia. So a fairly substantial organization, but still quite relatively small in comparison to many of our other financial competitors, as Mike mentioned in his earlier remarks. So the way that we got to where we are is the next page, if I could. We did do a business plan, and what we looked at is the 3 partners are strongly aligned. They share many values, they share community roots, and their purpose-driven cultures. Working as one entity, we believe, can enable more opportunities for growth, enhanced investment in technology and services that would benefit our members, our employees, and the community. Proposed amalgamation has a positive influence on our revenue growth, our operational efficiencies, our earnings, and our member equity and sustainability. Next slide. Financial assumptions, we're assuming a 5% growth in loans and a little bit less in deposits, given the substantial run-up we've had in deposits over the last couple of years, especially during the pandemic. We're not sure that pace can continue. So we had a fairly moderate growth in deposits. Interest rates, there are different prime rates at the 3 credit unions, so we'd look to equalize that across all 3 credit unions, because we would be operating as one entity. It won't mean a change for the East Coast members, but it would mean a decrease for both the Valley members and the teachers members. We looked in our business plan at some modest increases in Bank of Canada rates over the next few years, which is pretty consistent, I think, with projections that are coming out of the Bank of Canada and other financial institution economic departments. And there will be one set of rates for deposits and loans going forward, and we'll work around service charges to provide a standard arrangement for all members going forward, honoring our existing arrangements, but also offering one combined arrangement for all people going forward. Total compensation parity will be maintained over a 3-year period. No changes to the branch structure is anticipated as a result of the amalgamation, and we may have some changes to staffing due to early retirements and attrition. The existing pension plans will be maintained in the partner credit unions, and we will be using the ECCU DC plan for all new employees that join the organization. There are some savings on governance and audit and things like that, which were built into the plan as well. The next slide, please. Revenue growth, the combined operating capacity of the new merged entity creates long-term value for members. The key areas of focus include personalized member service, enhanced digital solutions, that's online and mobile banking, and enabling more competitive product offerings. Through strategic alignment and partnerships, the merged entity can further develop its wealth management business, commercial, and personal lending businesses. From an operational efficiency perspective, sustainability and member equity, the amalgamation creates significant efficiencies and cost savings, and the savings will be reinvested to provide greater value for members over the next 3 to 5 years. Earnings before taxes and community investments will be $14 million between now and 2025. Return on investments will improve from what the budget was at 27 basis points to 66 basis points. And our efficiency ratios will also reduce, which is a positive thing. And member equity will hopefully grow from a combined 6.47 to 7.67 over that 4-year period. Next slide. Growth in surplus equals enhanced value for members, employees, in the community. It gives us more chances to provide training opportunities and career growth opportunities for our employees, which means our members will have access to more specialized financial advice. The increased investments that we'll be able to make in digital banking will provide choice and convenience to our members. And the investments that we are able to make in the community will mean that we have more resources to invest in partnerships, initiatives, and things that make the community stronger for everyone. The amalgamation agreement to proceed, the members from 2 of the 3 credit unions must vote in favor, and one of those must be East Coast. The new credit union will be guided by a single board, and the East Coast current CEO will be the CEO of the new amalgamated organization. The new credit union will operate under the name East Coast Credit Union. The inaugural board of 12 directors, 8 representatives from East Coast, 3 from Valley, and 1 from Teachers Plus. The intention in the bylaws is to move to a regional representation model with 2 positions from each of our regions. We'd have 4 regions. So the Valley, Metro, the Antigonish area, and then Cape Breton. And then there would be 4 at-large positions. And the terms for the new board will be staggered so that that process can be put in place over a period of time. The organization will maintain a decentralized approach to its head office with centers of excellence in the 4 locations. Similar, we have 3 now: Antigonish, Dartmouth, and Port Hawkesbury. So we would add 1 in the Valley as well. And the common share minimum requirement for membership would be 1 share of $5. Next. The articles of amalgamation were included in the package for all members, and we have made some minor adjustments to our current bylaws that are of note. One of them is moving the age of majority to 18 versus 19, which was recommended by the superintendent. We've left in the Class A shares that we don't have any issue at the current time, although this is one way that credit unions can generate equity by asking members to invest in the credit union in a different way, having a kind of a preferred share, which would allow us to bolster our equity if we continue to grow more rapidly than our earnings grow. And there was a 500 member required for special meeting, which was recommended by the 3 boards. Next one. Other recommendations under 513, a change from our current 17 to 25 members for a quorum, recommended 12 members, plus, which would be 8 from East Coast, as I've mentioned earlier, 3 from Valley, and 1 from Teachers. and adding recommended representational language so that we can have those represented areas. And the last thing is the transitional process that we would need to go through to get to a regional representation. And I think that concludes my slides. I think there's one there for question and answers, and I know there is one or two questions already in the question and answers, so maybe we'll head there.
Thanks, Ken. The first question is from Juanita, and it says, what products and services do the other CUs offer that ECCU currently does not?
So I don't know if there's a number of things that they offer that we do not. One of the things is, I know in teachers' case, they have a bit of a special pricing for teachers, which allows them to attract new teachers. So we would obviously maintain that. Valley has a bit of a unique approach on their website. They have a virtual assistant that's AI based, so they can answer questions and help members. It's called Val. You know, that would obviously, we would have access to that as part of the amalgamation, which is something that we don't currently have in place at East Coast. We haven't, you know, there's lots of opportunity, I think, to explore the various things, but I think the bigger power of this is the ability to do things future forward versus based on what we do today. So I think that that's really where the benefits will come to members, is as we continue to progress and look at, you know, product iterations and ability to serve people in different ways. We'll have a bigger base to work from to be able to invest properly and make those things a reality.
Thank you, Ken. The next is a comment, and it says it's from Chris. The regional board representation is a great idea.
Yeah, I think it allows for all of the areas that we serve to have some voice in our democratic process that's a little more direct. You know, so that I think was something that all three boards were very supportive of. Is there any other questions on the?
There are no further questions in the chat. Oh, we just got a new one. The question is from Chris, and it says, please explain section 7.6 section of the plan. The 2/3 in favor, is this for each of the 3 credit unions?
Yes, that is correct. The 2/3 in favor. So each credit union is a separate entity and they need to make their own decisions on whether they decide to amalgamate or not. So what's occurring right now is each of us have an independent vote, which is taking place. And in the case of East Coast, 2/3 of our members would have to say yes to amalgamation for us to be able to proceed. And in the case of teachers, they would have a similar process, and Valley would also have a similar process. If all of those decisions are made in favor, then we move ahead. If 2 of the 3 are made in favor, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think in the presentation, there could be a possibility of us and Valley moving forward, or us and teachers moving forward. If the other one was to say no, I think we had a similar case back a number of years ago when we did the Bursaries Grand East Coast and Sydney discussions, and you know, we did have one meeting where Sydney did back out, and then we had another meeting where we actually did the vote to move forward. So in this case, we've anticipated the possibility of that and clarified what the path forward would be.
Chris has a follow-up question. Why do we need 500 members for special meetings when the NSCU Act only requires 250 members?
Well, the boards felt that it was reasonable given the size of the organization. You know, we will have 56,000 members, so to have a board discussion about an issue, it should be big enough that it affects enough of the members for it to be reach that level. And so that was, I think, why. And it wasn't necessarily just the East Coast board, but the other boards also supported that number. I think, and I'd have to go back and look at the actual details, but I think one of them was actually around or higher than ours, even though they still had a smaller member number. So that was the reason that we looked at that number, Chris.
Adele asks, will there be a second vote?
So based on the information, there will not be a second vote. If the 2 of the 3 reach a conclusion, we don't have to go back for a vote. We'll consider it to be decided as part of the current package.
Chris says a quorum is only 25 members for a meeting.
Yeah, and that's very similar to what our current bylaws are. They're currently 12 plus 5, which is 17. I think one of the other credit unions had a slightly higher number, so we did go with that. It's really for a meeting like this where you're, either in person or virtual to have a quorum of members. We don't tend to struggle with not having enough members at these meetings, but some credit unions do. So we didn't want to create a bar too high, but at the same time, we've never really had any meetings with many less than 50 to 75 people. So I don't think it's an issue, but you do have to have a number in your bylaws.
Thank you. We have a question from Teresa, and the question is, why wouldn't we increase the number of board members so that we may have possible representation from our communities throughout the province?
There is a point at which the board doesn't function as well if there's too many people. And so there has been a lot of research done on that. So the ideal number is probably anywhere between 9 and 12. And so we are at the higher end of that, but we felt that was reasonable.
We have a question from Gilbert, and the question is, who designed the pitch for amalgamation, since all I've seen just says it's a good thing? I have not seen annual reports for either Teachers Plus or Valley Credit Union. I have not been shown the benefit of adding a few members.
Yeah, so the information does include the financials, not necessarily separately but it shows the combined organization, which would include both Valley and Teachers. They are both public, same as us. Their statements are available on their website. The Teachers Credit Union is about 70 million, and the Valley is somewhere around 250, and they're both profitable as of last year, and represent good opportunities from a market perspective. So I apologize if that wasn't clear enough in the presentation or in the information that was given.
Thank you. Anuj, we have a question from Anuj. The question is a more general discussion. Atlantic Central seems to prefer a more consolidated CU in Atlantic Canada. Is this a preferred and agreed strategy that ECCU buys into? And what are the risks with that direction? At what point in consolidation does the local identity get affected?
Yeah, so we do work hard to try to maintain our connection to our local communities, and I think our staff is very key in this. And they do do a lot of things to engage locally, but we do believe that there is benefit to organizations being able to work together, and it's hard to get the kind of cooperation that you need by working together in partnerships, because somebody has to make a decision and it's not always the one that people want. And so it creates a little bit more, if you're trying to pick a technology or whatever it happens to be, it's a little bit easier if it's all one organization speaking with a common voice. But the way we impact directly on the communities, I think, can still be very local. And, we're trying to make sure we create a model that continues to do that. We're probably one of the I'll call it success stories in some ways in amalgamation in Atlantic Canada. We've done a number of amalgamations over the years. I think East Coast, before it joined with Virgin Grand, was the product of about 40 different amalgamations over quite a number of years. And this is a trend that's started a number of years ago and just continues, but it's not just happening here in Atlantic Canada, it's happening all across the country. Many credit unions are doing exactly what we're doing, looking at partnering with other credit unions to try to build a base that they can work from. And I know there's a couple of recent examples in Atlantic Canada at PEI. There's a number of credit unions in PEI that just agreed to join together, and we'll be able to work with them as they make that journey. And there's also been a couple in Newfoundland that have just made a similar decision in June. And so I don't think it's the end of consolidation. The big risk has been identified, I think, is that, part of it is trying to make sure we maintain our local community focus, but at the same time provide that great service members have become used to, and making sure we continue to engage them.
So a follow-up to that question is, can you share some lessons from other CUs, perhaps from other provinces?
Yeah, so some of the lessons from other provinces are to do some of the things we're trying to do is to build that capacity. I know, there's been a number of successful amalgamations in Ontario and BC and some of the other parts of the country. And what we found there is, they've done the best that they can to maintain that local community focus, but at the same time take advantage of the larger organization for things that don't really affect the members. So it's the treasury, it's the investments, it's the managing of the portfolio of the business in order to help members get better returns in the long run.
Chris has asked a question. Why are the members in the plan not in the organization chart when they should be at the top?
Good question, Chris. I guess that's a miss on our part. The members are at the top and we should have probably had them there. It was more the org chart internally, not the other pieces, but certainly, the board and the members are part of that process for sure.
We have a comment from Chris. 2017 AGM, Ken said that they would never put a specific number of Class A shares. With the new bylaws, it will be 50,000. In our bylaws, they would only do this as a request to members as a notice to the members.
So I think there's always been a number in our bylaws, but what it said is that we would not exceed that number without going to the members again, because we can't issue more shares than we're authorized to. But we wanted to leave that particular clause in the bylaws, because if we did get in a position as a credit union where we needed to generate new equity, then that would be a way that we may need to look at, because credit unions, unlike other financial institutions, which can go to the market and sell shares and other types of investments, the credit union is limited to really two sources. It's the retained earnings or the investment of the members that drive our equity.
Thank you. We have a question from Gilbert, and the question is, are there any financial projections for ECCU for the next 5 years if the amalgamation does not go through?
We don't have those done for 5 years. We do create business plans for a couple of years, and obviously it would be different because we wouldn't have the other business that would be coming from the other credit unions or the equity. And so, we certainly could do them. They're not part of the package, obviously.
Mike asks for his question that he asked at the start to be answered again, as he missed the answers. So I can go over this question again. It was in a couple parts, Ken, so I'll ask it to you in a couple parts and then we can go from there.
I think Mary answered most of his, so it might be better to turn it back over to her.
I believe so as well. Yeah. So I will, now that we have Mary back, I will commence the question. Why is our money being used to promote the amalgamation? There were no advertisements every day to accept amalgamation. Who is supposed to pay for those who are against amalgamation?
So I believe that I answered that, Peyton, and in brief, what I would say is that, again, is that the board recommends amalgamation, and the ads were to create awareness of our members. So to all members, whether they were in favor or not in favor, had the opportunity and took the opportunity to read the material and it was available. So we needed to direct them to the information.
Thank you, Mary. How much is Ken Shea's salary per year? How does it compare to our former manager at the Burgingen Credit Union?
So again, I did answer this question, and my response was we don't disclose personal information of any of our executives. If you do look at the one of the final notes of the audited financial statements, there's an aggregate amount for the senior executives, and so that information is available to any reader of the financial statements, and the financial statements are available online.
Okay, and the last part of this question is, why was the defined benefit pension plan of the workers being used as a negotiating bargaining chip at the last round of negotiations? After I was told at the original amalgamation meeting that the union negotiated pension of Virgin Grin would not be affected, the ECCU sure tried to change for the negative at the last round of the workers in Antigonish and St. Andrews.
So again, Ken answered this question. There is a disclosure in the financial statements about the pension plan for employees. And I would indicate and know that the pension plan did not change for those members, those employees that existed. So Ken, did you want to, I don't think Mike heard our answers. So
Yeah, I think
ahead.
what, you know, what I had said at the time was that you know, we did not take away any benefits that were accrued, but we did look at moving forward, having all new employees join the defined contribution plan. So I think that's really the answer.
Thanks to both of you. We have a question from Ruth, and the question is, what disadvantages have been noticed since the earlier amalgamation? The loss of Marguerite comes to mind, with the loss of services to members in that foundational community.
Yeah, I think, you know, that certainly is one, and it was a difficult decision that was made by board and management to move forward with that particular closure, as well as the other ones that we had two others, Upper Stewiacke and Kearney Lake. You know, at the end of the day, we need to try to make sure that we're doing the best to serve our members in the best way we can, in a way that's economically viable. We did have an issue in that particular case trying to determine how we would go forward with Inverness and Marguerite. And one community was growing, the other was more stagnant, and it was felt that that we would probably be better. We had to either upgrade both branches or upgrade one. So we did do that particular upgrade in the Inverness area, which I think has been very well received by members. It was unfortunate that we did have to change our approach in Marguerite, and so other disadvantages that have happened since the amalgamation, I can't think of anything in particular. I think there's been a number of positive things that have happened. We have had, I think originally we had a bit of a drop in our staff complement, which was part of the plan, but that since over the last few years is actually we're back to the same level that we were when we amalgamated. So even though we, you know, in our business plan, we thought we were going to reduce by 10 or 15%, you know, we've been able to replace many of those jobs. There have been some shifts in jobs over time. There's been the occasional position moving from one place to the other because of our distributed workforce or our decentralized workforce. But in general, I think we're a pretty fair employer, and we try to look after staff and provide them with opportunities. And we've had a number of our staff, I think, that have benefited from chances for promotion, opportunities to do jobs that they might not have gotten a chance to do in their preceding organizations. And we've also had some people that have moved on from us to partners in the system to do great things. So it's I think there's been a lot of advantages. I don't know of, you know, obviously that is one disadvantage. The other thing we were able to offer, I think, is things like email money transfer in all of our package plans, similar to our major competitors, and some other service charge things that are better than what we might have been able to do otherwise.
And Ken, I just wanted, this is Mary, I just wanted to add to Ruth's question. I wouldn't want the closures and amalgam, they're not linked. They're not linked decisions. They're completely separate, independent decisions. So I just want to be clear that there's no relationship between those two. Those are done on a separate assessment basis. So thank you. I think there are other questions, Peyton.
Thank you, Mary. There's a follow-up question to that, and I think you sort of just answered it. But Ruth asked, do you anticipate the closure of other branches once this amalgamation takes place?
Yeah, so I think Mary's answered that. The decisions are independent, I guess. We don't anticipate any closures as the result of amalgamation, but we do, as an organization, have to continue to look at our branch network and how it serves the members and make sure that we've got the right accesses in the right locations for members.
Thank you. We have a question from Elaine, and the question is, if this amalgamation is approved by the members, the board will have the option to assign 50,000 preferred shares.
Yeah, no, it's not that the board has the option to assign shares. We would have the ability to produce those shares and sell them to members without having to come back and have an approval of that done by the members because it's built into the bylaws. In the former iteration of East Coast, we did have these shares, they were available. We did have members that had them for a while because we were a little closer to 5% equity. And then as we grew, we needed to do something. So we did issue the shares. After our that was Heritage Credit Union, and when we amalgamated with East Coast over time, those shares were paid back to members, and we haven't needed them since. But as I mentioned, sometimes if we grow faster than we think we're going to, we may need to look at those again. So it's really just to keep a bit of a safety net into our equity and the ability to issue those. They are normally fairly beneficial to members because they provide a higher return than the standard deposit rate, although they come with a little less of a guarantee of return. So there's a risk reward discussion that needs to take place, but they can be a good instrument for people if they're looking to enhance their returns.
There are no further questions in the chat at this time.
Great, thank you, Peyton, and thank you, Ken. We do have one last comment, Peyton, and
We just got it in. Yep.
Yes, okay, good.
Per in our current bylaws, you could have come back to the members who have the shares, right?
No members actually have those shares. There's none issued at the current time.
Thank you.
I think that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ken. So we'll now move to we'll now move to a formal motion on the special resolution. And I will ask one more time if there are any questions or comments from the presentation about amalgamation.
There are no further questions in the chat.
Thank you, Peyton. As there are no further questions in our Q&A box, I now refer you to the special resolution included with the notice of meeting and available on the website. And so this is a special resolution, my apologies. And members are being asked to consider it, if appropriate, pass a special resolution approving the amalgamation of East Coast Credit Union, Valley Credit Union, and Teachers Plus Credit Union as recommended by the board. Are there any questions or clarifications you may require about this special resolution? If you do, please use the Q&A function to type in your questions or comment. We will pause to provide an opportunity for you to post your comments for discussion. So again, this is on the wording or on the special resolution. If there's any questions or comments, please type them in the Q&A box.
There are no questions.
Thank you, Peyton. As there are no other questions, we will proceed with the motion. I will now ask someone or any one of our members who wishes to move or second the approval of the special resolution to please type "I move" or "I second" into the Q&A window on the bottom of your screen. Would someone move and second the approval of the special resolution? And we'll wait for an opportunity for people to so move. So we have several movers. So we have C. Roberts, who I assume is Colleen Roberts, who's moved the motion. And we have a seconder, Helen McPherson. So the motion has been moved by Colleen Roberts and seconded by Helen McPherson. I will ask if there are any additional, now that it's been moved and seconded, I will ask if there are any further discussion.
There are no questions in the Q&A.
So as there are no further questions and no further discussion required this evening, the next step in this process will be to continue with voting as we discussed earlier. Are there any questions that pertain to the voting process?
Sue Adams asks, I'm a bit confused. We have been voting on a motion that had not yet been moved or seconded.
Yes, so the motion has been moved or seconded this evening, as you know, and as you just witnessed, and we followed all the process. It's a formality for us to have moved and seconded the motion this evening, and the voting obviously will continue. The board recommends the amalgamation, and so based on that recommendation, the voting could take place and the motion could take place here at the AGM. Thank you for the question, Sue.
There are no further questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Peyton. I remind you that voting on the special resolution has been open since June 14th at 9:30 a.m. and will close at 11:59 p.m. tonight, so just before midnight. If you have not yet voted, please go to our website, and the address is www.eastcoastcu.ca to cast your online ballot. As a special resolution, a 2/3 majority is required for the motion to pass. Voting results will be declared on June 30th, which is tomorrow, at 12:30 p.m. And the information on the results will be made available on our website. I would now like to open the floor for any other new business. To ask a question related to new business, indicate your question or comment in our Q&A function. So I'll pause momentarily if there's anybody that has new business, a question or a comment thereof. So Peyton, can you confirm that there are no other comments or questions?
There are no other comments and questions in the Q&A.
Okay, and hearing that there are no other new business, we continue to our closing and our adjournment. So this evening, I'd like to finish by thanking our voting and elections team, our marketing communications team, our ID department for their role in putting this evening together for us. And there are challenges, of course, in a virtual meeting space, and I think they've done a great job in trying to manage those challenges. I do want to acknowledge Caroline Dickey, who is our recording secretary this evening and who was a tremendous support for board and for organizing all the logistics of this meeting and coordinating. So it's always dangerous to single anybody out, any specific person out, but I did want to single out Caroline for all her work. I would also like to thank everyone again for attending this evening. We've been here for 2.5 hours, and we really appreciate the questions and your time spent at the AGM this evening. As you see, we had a very successful year in 2020, and it was my pleasure to recount those successes to you. We are reminded to continue to thank healthcare professionals and anyone in a frontline role for their commitment and willingness to do so, and in doing what they're doing. So thank you. This concludes our business agenda for the evening. And as the agenda is completed, our meeting is adjourned. Before we adjourned, I just wanted Chris Hanlon, our newest elected acclaimed board member, if you would check your email in the next few minutes, we'll send you an email for a meeting that's coming up in about 5 minutes. So that concludes, and I'd like to thank all of you. I wish you good night, and I hope that you continue to keep well. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.